So my place of work is having its second annual chili cook-off tomorrow, and I entered to compete in it. I didn't know what I was gonna do. At first I thought I was gonna do just like a classic, I don't know, American style chili. But then I had a dream, and I was in a hotel, and I don't know if you're like me, but I have vivid dreams when I sleep in hotels, and I had this dream of having a bite of chili in which it had like a light, like a burnt orange color, almost a creamy texture with the beans being nice and soft and the meat having like a fine crumble that melted in the mouth. And that was just a dream, was like having a bite of chili. And when I woke up, I was like super alert and I knew exactly what I needed to do to achieve that chili idea. So I pulled out my little notebook and I came up with the idea of a bolognese-inspired chili, in which we have a mirepoix, we have ground beef and pork simmered in wine, then milk with a pinch of nutmeg and bay leaf and black pepper and salt. We had pancetta. We had pinto beans simmered in chicken broth until nice and creamy and smooth. And then I figured I'd hit it with some ancho and guajillo and some gochujang and some fish sauce. And I wrote this out and I talked to some friends about it. And this is what I came up with. And I'm really happy with the results. So let me show you how I got here. Here is our mound of meat. We have ground beef chuck, 80-20, 2 pounds of that over here, and then a pound of ground pork. This is all going to get browned, I mean barely browned, mostly just cooking off some of that initial liquid. And then we're gonna prepare the meat in the style of like a bolognese sauce, ultimately simmering it in wine, nutmeg, bay leaf, salt, black pepper. You'll see all that go in a sec. The first step is just adding the meat. So, as you can hear it sizzle, again, our goal is really just to cook it until the pink goes away. At that point, it'll be cue for me to add the liquid. We're gonna cut it with wine throughout, but the main simmering agent is milk, which apparently helps tenderize it, and that's what's gonna give this Bolo Thai chili a slightly creamy, milky note. It's a lot of meat. I'm gonna turn the fan on, and we'll tune back in after this meat is cooked a little bit. After about 5 minutes, the meat is starting to release a lot of water, starting to brown up. I'm just gonna look for some of this liquid to come off or, evaporate, and most of the pink to go away before we add our wine. All right, after about 10 minutes, most if not all the pink is gone, which is now our cue to add wine. So we have 2 cups of a cheap $4 bottle of wine, and we're gonna add all of it. Then I'm gonna crank up the heat to a 7 until I get a nice, rapid simmer on that. And it should be another 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes now. I need all of this wine to evaporate off. And that will be our cue to add the milk, the nutmeg, bay leaf, black pepper. Let's talk chilies. I couldn't find guajillo. That's what I was planning on using. So we're going with New Mexico. Apparently they're a little earthier. And I don't know, this should be perfect. So I'm gonna do 3 New Mexicos and 2 anchos. That's what I've done in the past, the guajillo ancho combo, and I like it. So my next step is to de-stem and de-seed these, and then I'll toast them in a pan once I have some space freed up and rehydrate them, and that'll be our pepper paste that we'll add towards the end. It'll be kind of a balancing act between trying to keep the integrity of, like, I still want it to read a little bit bolognese, but it's not chili without some real dried chilies. So, you know, I'll add it a little bit at a time after I blend it and run it through a sieve and all that. That's the game plan. Most of the wine is evaporated. I'm just getting impatient now, but it's reduced by, I don't know, 3/4. Mostly just meat exposed at this point. So now, strap in, because it's going to be a pretty wild ingredient combination here. We got fish sauce, we got milk. I don't think I've ever put the two together, but I do want to fortify it with some fish sauce to get a little more umami. So let's go milk first. Milk. I feel like I should drink like a little cocktail of milk, white wine, and fish sauce, and maybe nutmeg, just to see how gross that would be. But I think I can imagine it'd be pretty gross. So milk. We'll do, I don't know, ½ teaspoon of fish sauce for good luck. Nutmeg. Fresh ground nutmeg. I could have sworn I had some open already. I do. This is from, it's pretty expired. Let's use this fresh nutmeg. We're gonna do 2 pinches of nutmeg, which, I don't know, that was like 1/8 of a teaspoon. Maybe a little more for good luck. And what's left? Oh, bay leaves. I also have some fresh dried bay leaves from McCormick. Let's try and get some out without breaking them. 1. I don't know why they package it in these containers. 2, 3. They're small, so I'll do 4 little bay leaves. And may as well hit it with the black pepper now. I added salt to the meat when it was initially cooking without anything. And I was hoping to get my hands on like Calabrian chili paste or something like that. But instead, just because I love the presence of this ingredient in bolognese sauce, let's see, I'm gonna hit it with a little bit of gochujang. So gochujang, soybean, pepper paste. Let's see. Another ingredient, just for a subtle bit of heat here, a little funky from the fermentation. I'm just gonna add a tablespoon for now and let it kind of sit in there with everything. But this is the new concoction that the meat is gonna simmer in until that milk is all evaporated. Then I'll probably hit it with a little bit of tomato paste and taste it to see how we're doing. But again, hopefully the milk is gonna tenderize it. Hopefully make like a finer crumble, let it break down even more. And we'll let this go for a good, probably a ½ hour at least, on a low simmer until that milk is evaporated. Here's the second element of our chili. We have pinto beans. I rinsed them and picked through. There were no pebbles, but we started them from dry. I've stopped soaking my beans and just started throwing them in dry, and you know, they take a little extra to cook, but only seems to add an hour or two. These have garlic cloves, chicken broth, tomato paste, some of this sazon completa, and that's it. I just want the beans to cook separately. Eventually we'll add the meat to this pot, and I'm just cooking the beans until they are as soft as possible. So here is our smoked element for this recipe. We're going to do a smoked mirepoix, carrot, celery, onion. I like to cut my onion like this, where it's still sort of all attached at the root tip. And that allows me to just plop them down, keeping them mostly intact. But this is where I'm going to get the smoke flavor for the dish. I have no idea how smoking carrot and celery will work, but I've done it with onion, and I have a big block of pecan wood in here. I'm gonna let these veggies hang out for, I don't know, an hour and a half. I might flip them at some point, but this is where I'm choosing to get the smoke flavor from, and also par cook all the veggies. And once they're off the smoker and cool, I'm gonna dice them up. Here we have our smoked mirepoix, nice and diced. I'm gonna give you a little taste test of each, starting with the carrot. Smoked carrot, never done that before. Smoked carrot, really good. I mean, it tastes like a smoked carrot, but that sweetness from the carrot plus the smoke works out well. We've tried the smoked onion before. Also nice, complements, you know, that oniony bite really complements the smoke. Celery is the most strange. Got a fine dice on this. This one reads a little more acrid. I guess because celery is just mostly water, it really soaks up that smoke flavor. But I think that'll get diffused throughout the rest of the chili, so I'm not worried. A little update on our beef and pork. Still simmering away here. I think the pork, or the Parmesan rind, I don't know, it's somewhere in there. It was a little more of just a frozen cheese cube than an actual rind, so I think it's just kind of dissolved into here. And so did the gochujang. I'll taste that in a bit. Beans have been going for almost 3 hours now. I don't think you can really overcook beans. I want them as soft as possible. I was between like cannellini or the Mayakoba. I was thinking Mayakoba, but it looked like kind of old at the Safeway that I bought beans at, while these pinto beans had a later expiration date. So stick with the pinto. I think cannellini would have been ideal, but I didn't want, I think white beans in like a otherwise brown red chili would have looked kind of gross. So we're sticking with pinto. All right, we've reached an exciting moment. The meat mixture has been simmering for, I don't know, over 45 minutes, probably closer to an hour. And I'm gonna keep it simmering, but as you can see, I'm taking out the bay leaves. There should be one more in here somewhere. There it is. Or a piece of one. All the milk, most of the milk evaporated, and then I added a little bit of chicken stock just to keep it wet. And then I tasted it. I mean, it's really tasty. I think I nailed it between the gochujang and the fish sauce. Just added a little more umami backbone. The milk and the white wine gave it this tangy sweetness that's really nice, and then the meat is melt in the mouth like I wanted. So what we're gonna do from here is incorporate it with our pinto beans. I've been gradually adding water to this to keep them wet, and they're at the point now where I like them. They're nice and soft. I'm gonna see if I can get them even softer, but I figured I would incorporate the two components. This is ultimately going to be our chili pot. So let's go ahead and stir in our meat mixture. And the next step, I'm going to wipe out this frying pan. The next step will be the pancetta and the par-smoked vegetables. So again, we have this big pot of all of our protein. We're gonna keep that simmering back here. And the next step will be pancetta and vegetables. Okay, before the smaller pieces of pancetta get overcooked, I'm gonna just dump these pieces into our chili, leaving behind the bulk of the grease for, our vegetables. So again, the par smoked vegetables, gonna finish cooking in here. Could I have just used bacon instead of smoking the actual vegetables? Yes. But then I don't think I would have been able to include this on my YouTube channel because we wouldn't have really used the smoker. I guess I could have smoked my own bacon, but I don't know. I haven't looked into that yet. But either way, we have one smoked ingredient, and that's enough to make it onto YouTube. Plus, I wanted to show off this, I don't know, this original recipe and see how it comes out with you guys. And here is our next secret step that my friend Sienna recommended. I think she worked at a restaurant that would make bolognese sauce, and they would take the meat mixture and blend, like, I'm taking like, I don't know, 1/8 of the chili pot and blending it. So that's what we're gonna do here. It's gonna get loud. Okay, just this alone, this blended concoction of everything we've cooked so far is delicious. Really delicious. I mean, every component is there and well balanced. I don't even think it needs any more salt. But it just tastes like bolognese sauce, which is what I wanted. From here, I'm gonna save some of the tomatoes till the very end and add those at the end. But now we need to make it taste like chili. And I'm hoping this will help. Also probably just throw in some regular chili powder, but it's now time to blend our peppers. 5 painstaking minutes later, we have our sieved pepper paste, 1 cup's worth. Here, let's give it a little taste. Good. Good. Earthy, a little fruity, almost a little chocolatey. So I'm happy with it. I have a feeling we're going to use all of it, but I'll start with half and we'll go from there. So as I said, right now, with the mirepoix, the beans, and the meat, it tastes like a really tasty bolognese sauce. What we're gonna do now is add the pepper paste. And I'm gonna start with half, just to be safe. But like I said, I think we're gonna use all of it. I also want it to turn slightly darker brown color. It's getting there. But like I said, let's give it a taste. I'm hoping it's enough. Okay, it's tasting more like chili, but we're gonna add the rest. So again, that was 3 New Mexico, 2 ancho, or 2 ancho. Nice, this is the color I was looking for. Perfect in between of like a dark brown chili and a light bolognese. Like the lightness of the bolognese sauce. Okay. I'm gonna let that keep simmering, uncovered, so it thickens up just a little bit, and then we'll give it our final taste test. Okay, after tasting, it's pretty much there. I just want a little more pepper, so I'm gonna add some of this chipotle powder that I have. And I think I have some ancho in here somewhere. Yep, some ancho chili powder. And then a little bit of, just a pinch of cayenne. And because it's chili and we're in America, we'll add a dash of regular chili powder. Stir that all up. Again, that wasn't much. That was just a little bit of everything, just to give it a little more of that peppery bite. But I think I nailed the balance. I think, you know, it's not a traditional chili by any means, but it is pretty much bolognese meets chili. Let's give it a taste. I nailed it. Not to brag, but I nailed it. I struck the balance. The tomatoes, the beans are cooked perfectly. The meat is melting in the mouth. I want to get it just a hair thicker. So I'll let it simmer a bit and just evaporate a little bit. But that is our chili. Pretty good turnout at the chili cook-off. We got the student band playing. My chili's down right there, number 13. Yeah, good turnout. So we just got back from the chili cook-off. I'm sad to report that we didn't win, but we still got a lot of compliments and a lot of people enjoyed our chili, and that's what matters. So, thanks for watching, and tune in next time.